Is the electric universe model a theory for everything? Is electricity the pervading force throughout the universe? And if so, do thoughts, actions, emotions, intentions all abide by these electromagnetic laws? Well, come on, let's electrocute the Akashic records and find out. Welcome to Accessing the Akashic Records, episode 7. Now, in the last episode, I showed you how our 3D world is an emanation of the pure potential power of consciousness, and it's essentially the holographic universe. In this episode, I'll be covering the underlying force that emanates within all matter, which is the electromagnetic field. So, electricity is the radiating or expansive part, and the absorbing or contracting part is the magnetic part. Essentially gravity. This is essentially the duality of matter and how it maintains the physical holographic form. But more on the spiritual, philosophical and metaphysical science later. Now, thanks to this electric universe model, we can now start to get a better picture of how the universe works without coming up with unknowable forces such as antimatter, dark energy, gravity, things like this that don't have a lot of basis within evidence. So we do know there's much more in the universe than our limited perception gives us, but thanks to technology such as radio telescopes, as we can see here, it gives us a much broader view of the universe. Here we can see various levels throughout the electromagnetic spectrum. Thanks to these advances, we know that electrically charged matter or plasma is the basis of all organic matter within the universe. So where this field comes from, I will cover later. Here you can see, in the gamma ray section of the spectrum, there's something there. The radio end of the spectrum, the lower frequencies, there's something there. So, and everything in between, not just what our limited perception is able to show us. There are things out there, and we know, thanks to quantum physics, that it's not empty space. It's full of energy. We ourselves, everything that we're made up of, is actually more energy than anything else. So here we can see the Laniakea supercluster of galaxies up the top, and that red dot there is the Milky Way galaxy, just there. And in the bottom picture you can see the mirror supercluster called Perseus Pisces. So these radio telescope electromagnetic images give us a visual perspective on the electromagnetic connection on a macrocosmic level, and this is a perfect example of how this force is emanating through absolutely everything. So as I've mentioned already, there is opposite forces that pertain to the field of electromagnetic force. One of radiation, which is positively charged, and one of absorption, being the negatively charged. And this is what is better known as polarity. Or in the magnetic terms, a positive is the North Pole and the South Pole is the negative. So as you can see, the electromagnetic fields run 90 degrees. The electric and magnetic fields run 90 degrees of each other, and that is exactly how dimensions run parallel with one another, which, if you've seen my dimensions and densities video, that just helps fill in some of the blanks there, how these parallel dimensions interact and intersect, I should say, with ours, the 3D. Now, polarity is the fundamental principle of the electromagnetic field, which is an important part that we just do not give enough credence to in the philosophical sense. As I've mentioned in earlier episodes, everything in our 3D reality abides by polarity. We experience thoughts, emotions, intentions, and even actions that are positive or negative. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, how does one rate these things on a scale? Well, more on that later, but first we must need to understand how this field emanates through us, and specifically through our bodies. Now, right from the creation of our first cell, we have positive protons and negative electrons holding the form of this holographic illusory dimension that we currently reside in. Now, as you can see on the right, the first organ to be created is the heart, which geometrically resembles the torus. As you can see the shape there. If you're familiar with the torus, which is a donut shape, I'll give you a better look at it here. So this electromagnetic field is in the shape of a donut, or what's known as the torus, and has a positive and negative pole, or polarity, and the singularity or unity point in the center. Here's a great picture of it here. There you go. So that's how it works. You can see there's the center, the singularity. You've got the positive north pole emanating or radiating, and then you've got the contracting or absorbing negative or south pole. Yeah. So the heart is not only the first organ, put you back there, the heart is not only the first organ to form, but is 100% the electrical strength and has 5,000 times the magnetic strength of the brain. It contains over 40,000 neurons and sends more commands and information to the brain than it actually receives from the brain. So the heart is unity consciousness, and the brain with two hemispheres is the duality consciousness. So when you live and act from the heart, you are in what's called positive polarity. So this includes thoughts, emotions, actions, intentions, as I've already gone into before, that are loving in nature, both for yourself and for others. Obviously, the opposite is the negative polarity, which is selfish behaviours, thoughts, actions, intentions, and so on. So this is the scale of moral polarity, as I alluded to earlier, the scale. So there's no judgment, no right, no wrong. All is one and all paths must be allowed to be explored under free will. So that's how the scale works. So it's not good and evil. I really hate that term, because that's saying that something is morally wrong or morally right. I mean, it's perfectly healthy to say that rape, or these things that are against someone's free will, is of an evil nature and it's morally wrong, or things like that. That's fine. You're breaking someone's free will, then yes, I wholeheartedly agree. But all paths need to be explored. Like, as far as the creator, we need to have a step back and take a bigger picture look at things and say, look, okay, yeah, in some cases it can be explored, those negative things, but eventually they all come back. And as I've mentioned in sixth density, in my densities and dimensions video, those paths unite again. So they can be explored, and they separate and live parallel to one another on different frequencies, but if one's so inclined, they can experience that path. Those of us of the positive, well, we get to experience the positive. So everything we do in this reality now is in this 3D is creating those realities for us in the next, as I've mentioned already. Now, next, fear and love. The emotion of fear and love also have these qualities the electromagnetic polarity has. So, for example, fear is a small field with the absorption, contraction, separation, protection qualities, while love is a huge, expansive field that can be felt by others from a much larger distance, sometimes up to a kilometre, according to the HeartMath Institute. This field has a radiating, open, free, unifying quality. And as I've covered in my video about ascension, fear and love affect our DNA in this way also. The frequency of this electromagnetic emotion passes through our DNA. So fear is a long, slow wavelength and activates very few of our DNA antennas, which connects us with the cosmos, as you can see in the top of the picture there. So fear essentially inhibits the evolution of our consciousness, and love does exactly the opposite. So love's a short, fast wavelength which activates many more of our antennas and reconnects us with all that is. So it expands us, opens us up, and essentially allows our evolution. Now, due to the work of Dr. Emoto, as some of you may already be aware with the water crystal experiments, we see that positive and negative emotion have a huge effect on water, as you can see here. Hate, when they say "I hate you" into the water, it becomes very disorganized chaos, while love is the opposite, with symmetry, organization, and harmony. So, also, as you know, our bodies are 70% water, so think about that one. Back to the heart-brain connection. The HeartMath Institute has done many scientific experiments on the heart fields and show us that when we're in a state of anxiety, fear, or frustration, and similar types of emotions, our heart, our respiration, our blood pressure, and our brain rhythm are completely chaotic and out of sync, as you can see there on the left side of this diagram. But if we use methods such as meditation, breathing, mindfulness, grounding, thinking of positive thoughts, we get all those back into sync very easily and very rapidly, which unfortunately we don't seem to do enough of in the Western world. So there you can see on the right side of the diagram there, they're all in cohesion or synchronization. Here again is another great example of how our vibration comes out of order when we're frustrated or similar. We just can't think straight. Our heart rate picks up, we act irrationally, we even begin to sweat, even if it's not cold, even if it is in cold weather, you know. Our body gives us these massive signs that things just aren't right. You can see there, that's perfect synchronization. It starts to look like music, whereas this is completely chaotic. That's frustration for you. That's fear. That's all those negative end of the spectrum emotions. Now, if you look into there's actually these cycles within consciousness that humanity goes through, and these are called ages, or in the Hindu Mahabharatas, or even in the Mayans, they're called yugas, the Mayan beliefs. We have come to the end of what's called the Silver Age, and we've entered into the Golden Age. And this has been prophesized as the end of materialistic separation and bellicose consciousness or nature, and into one of harmony, unity, and love. Now, if you look into ancient and indigenous cultures around the world, not only do you find that these prophecies of returning to this golden age, but you find that in the last golden age, they did in fact live in the heart and not in the brain. They embraced the equality of all and acted from love and unity, which is exactly what the heart is. So in order for us to move forward, we must go back to living in the heart, as this is where the emanation of unity resides. And unity is our path back to is our evolution path back to the Creator, the one infinite Creator. So thank you for watching Accessing the Akashic Records. I know I didn't go deep into the electric universe model. Instead, I really wanted to cover how it all ties into spiritual philosophy and metaphysical science. Now, if you want to dig deeper into any of the material I covered, check out the links in the description box below. As always, please hit like, subscribe and leave some love if you enjoyed this video. Love and light, namaste, and please stay tuned to my channel and my Facebook and even my Minds channel. All those links are in the description box below. So love and light, namaste.